A mysterious Osprey clutch issue caused the deaths of 5 Marines. But V22s remain flying. 5 Marines who took off on training flight on June 8, 2022, died when their Osprey suffered a catastrophic clutch issue, the Marine Corps revealed in an investigation report Friday. Despite the findings and earlier concerns over the possibility of a deadly crash caused by the clutch, the military continues to fly the V22 with no firm understanding of the cause or any definitive mechanical fix for the problem in sight. The 5 Marines are the first known casualties of a persistent mechanical issue, a hard clutch engagement, referred to as HCE, that shredded the components responsible for powering the aircraft's propellers. The issue has plagued the Osprey platform for years, but it was not acknowledged publicly until a month after their aircraft crashed in Southern California. We owe them an identity and culture. Space Forces STARCOM gets new commander. Amber Sachs, the wife of John Sachs, one of the pilots who died on that Osprey, told Military.com on Friday after the new revelation from the Marine Corps that a tragedy like her husband's death is not something she wants others to experience. The aviation community is our family. John loved being a Marine, John loved flying the Osprey, she said. This is a difficult day for so many. We just want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. The report and accompanying letters from Marine Corps leaders lay bare the scope of the problem. Despite a history of at least 15 such incidents between March 2010 and August 2022, the root cause of HCE remains unknown, Major General Bradford Gearing wrote in a March letter accepting the investigation results. Gearing wrote that the fix the Pentagon touted in February, replacing a part of the drivetrain called an input quill assembly, serves only to reduce the chance of this costly, and now deadly, issue from happening again. Once the root cause of HCE is understood, then and only then, can improvements to flight control system software, drivetrain component material strength, and robust inspection requirements be developed where applicable, Gearing wrote. Despite no clear understanding of what causes the problem, the office that runs the Osprey program for the Pentagon claimed in a statement released Friday that, through a combination of efforts, including the recent input quill assembly replacement bulletin in February 2023, the risk of a HCE event occurring was reduced by greater than 99%. The office's statement added that the results of this investigation have further driven efforts to mitigate the HCE phenomenon, identify root cause and prevent it from occurring. Nothing seems strange about that. The massive, 400-page report released by the Marine Corps on Friday reveals that the Marines of Swift 11, the call sign of the doomed Osprey, had little indication that anything was wrong in the moments leading up to their crash. The Osprey left Camp Pendleton that morning with a wingman headed for an aerial gun range near the California and Arizona border. The training flight was going normally until 12:12 p.m., when the Osprey told its wingman that its gearboxes were getting too hot. However, one of the enlisted crew in the accompanying Osprey later told investigators that's pretty normal for the maneuvers they were doing because of the heat in the summer of Southern California. Nothing seems strange about that, he added. The procedure was for the Osprey to climb to a higher altitude to help cool the oil in the gearboxes. Investigators say Swift 11 began its climb at 12:14 p.m. Seconds later, it would slam into the ground from a height of around 500 feet. The crash was so sudden that the crew of the accompanying Osprey Swift 12 didn't realize what happened at first. Investigators said that the doomed Osprey made no radio calls and no one witnessed the crash. When Marines and the wingman Osprey spotted the smoke from the crash, the same enlisted crew member told investigators he thought it was an oil or tire fire. I did not think for a second that it was our wingman, he said in written testimony. After they weren't able to raise Swift 11 on the radio, they flew in for a closer look, and reality dawned on them. Despite the thick, black smoke, one of the pilots on Swift 12 told investigators that you could tell it was an Osprey. Investigators determined that Swift 11 crashed so violently that its fuel cells ruptured and caught fire. The ensuing fire was so fierce that it destroyed the Osprey's black box. When the crew from a nearby Navy helicopter landed nearby and tried to put out the flames, they found that their fire extinguishers did nothing. The remains of all 5 Marines, Captain Nicholas Losapio, Captain John Sachs, Corporal Nathan Carlson, Corporal Seth Rasmussen, and Lance Corporal Evan Strickland, were found at their stations, the report said. The oldest Marine, Sachs, was 33. The youngest, Strickland, was only 19. 2 months later, on August 18, the Marine Corps, responding to the Air Force's grounding of its own Osprey fleet over HCE concerns, would tell reporters that its pilots could handle the issue. Hard clutch issue has been known to the Marine Corps since 2010, and as such, we have trained our pilots to react with the appropriate emergency control measures should the issue arise during flight, Major Jim Stenger, a spokesman for the Marines, said at the time. According to the documents included in the report on the crash, the crew of Swift 11 were some of the best the Corps had to offer. The squadron that the Osprey belonged to, Marine Medium Tiltrotor Squadron 364, known as the Purple Foxes, had recently been named the Marine Medium Tiltrotor Squadron of the Year. The citation specifically noted the squadron surpassed 10,000 mishap-free hours and managed risk across a wide spectrum of desert and littoral combat operations. Furthermore, the lead pilot of Swift 11, Lo Sapio, was widely regarded as an excellent aviator. His commanding officer told investigators that he was a phenomenal officer and pilot who was leaps and bounds ahead of his peers in terms of capability and stick control. Friday, however, the office that manages the Osprey program for all the services called the incident unpreventable and unanticipated. A Christmas tree of lights. While the Air Force was more cautious and grounded its aircraft in August as the Marines continued to take to the skies, the pause was short-lived. That same month of August would see one of the Air Force's V22 Ospreys get stuck on a remote nature reserve in Norway after the crew experienced a hard clutch engagement, forcing an emergency landing. There were no fatalities, but retrieving the aircraft began an intense ordeal involving international cooperation. By September, just 2 weeks after grounding its Ospreys, the Air Force announced it had cleared them to fly once more, saying that, despite not having a mechanical fix for the issue, the focus is on mitigating operations in flight regimes where HCEs are more prevalent and ensuring our aircrews are trained as best as possible to handle HCEs when they do occur, a spokesperson said at the time. Lieutenant General Jim Slife, then the head of Air Force Special Operations Command, told reporters at the Air Force Association's Air, Space and Cyber Conference in September that he was frustrated by the lack of a mechanical fix to the problem and said he was grateful there hadn't been any deadly incidents with his command. In FSOC, we haven't had a catastrophic mishap, Slife said at the conference. Each one of them results in a kind of a Christmas tree of lights, caution lights in the cockpit. I'm really proud of our crews and the way they've been able to safely land these airplanes, but I'd rather they not have to demonstrate their superior skill because we put superior controls in place to prevent them from having to do that. That same month, Military.com exclusively reported the details of a 2017 Air Force Osprey mid-flight incident in Arizona that was caused by a clutch issue similar to the one that downed Swift 11. That incident caused more than $5 million in damage to the aircraft, according to the Air Force report. Both engines and 5 gearboxes needed to be replaced, as well as nearly a dozen other components. It took a team of 6, working 12-hour days, 45 days to repair the aircraft, according to the report. It wasn't until February that the issue resurfaced again when the military announced that the services that fly the aircraft had grounded an unknown number of Ospreys. Officials wouldn't disclose the exact number, citing operational security concerns. A defense official, who spoke with reporters on the condition of anonymity at that time,